The Curse of El Guardián, ancient legend of Chile's mountain protector, Andes mythology. Welcome, seekers of ancient wisdom, to Tales Labyrinth, your channel for the world's most extraordinary legends and forgotten mysteries. Today, we journey to the majestic Andes mountains of Chile, where shadows hold secrets and stones whisper warnings. This is the tale of El Guardián, the legendary protector whose curse has haunted treasure seekers for millennia. Subscribe now and follow this story to its chilling end. First, the sacred mountains and their ancient guardians. The Andes rose like titans against the Chilean sky, their peaks touching clouds that had witnessed centuries of human struggle and triumph below. Ancient valleys nestled between these stone giants harbored communities who understood the mountains not as mere geography, but as living entities deserving reverence. These indigenous peoples built their humble villages from adobe and stone, their terraced farms clinging to steep hillsides where they cultivated sacred crops. Daily life revolved around respect for the earth, with rituals performed before extracting even the smallest mineral from mountain caves and riverbeds. Elders taught children that the mountains possessed spirits who guarded precious metals and gemstones hidden within their rocky hearts for divine purposes. These guardians, they explained, were neither cruel nor benevolent, but existed to maintain cosmic balance between human ambition and natural preservation. The village shamans served as intermediaries, conducting ceremonies with offerings of chicha and woven textiles before any mining expedition ventured forth. Their painted faces and feathered headdresses marked them as spiritual authorities whose warnings carried the weight of ancestral wisdom accumulated over generations. They spoke of boundaries that must never be crossed, of depths where human feet should never tread or touch. Artisans crafted beautiful works from copper and silver obtained through careful, respectful extraction, creating jewelry and ceremonial objects of stunning craftsmanship. Their workshops filled with the rhythmic hammering of metal against stone, each strike accompanied by prayers thanking the mountain spirits. These craftsmen understood their materials came with spiritual obligations, not merely as resources for exploitation, but as sacred gifts. Women wove vibrant textiles depicting mountain legends in intricate geometric patterns, their looms creating stories that preserved cultural memory through generations. Children gathered around evening fires listening to elders recount tales of foolish men who ignored warnings and faced supernatural consequences. These stories served not as entertainment, but as essential education about respecting forces beyond human comprehension or control. The community's architecture reflected their spiritual relationship with surroundings, with temples positioned to align with mountain peaks during significant celestial events. Stone altars outside these temples bore offerings renewed with each full moon, ensuring continued harmony between village and guardian spirits. The smoke from burning herbs spiraled upward, carrying prayers to entities dwelling in unreachable heights above. Yet despite all precautions and reverence, legends spoke of one guardian more fearsome than others, a protector of unimaginable power awakened only when greed threatened to corrupt the sacred balance. This entity remained dormant within the deepest mountain chambers, sleeping among treasures so vast that their discovery would unleash catastrophic consequences upon humanity. Its name was whispered with trembling lips, El Guardián. Second, the appearance of the cursed protector. The legend described El Guardián as neither fully beast nor spirit, but something ancient beyond human categories of understanding and classification. Its form shifted according to who beheld it, appearing sometimes as a massive condor with eyes burning like molten copper. To others, it manifested as a towering humanoid figure constructed from living stone, its body veined with pulsing golden threads. Some witnesses claimed it resembled a colossal serpent whose scales reflected the colors of precious gemstones found throughout the Andes. Most consistent across all accounts was the creature's overwhelming presence, an aura of primal power that made the bravest warriors tremble. Those who survived encounters described feeling an oppressive weight crushing their chests, making each breath a laborious struggle against invisible force. The air around El Guardián reportedly shimmered with heat despite frigid mountain temperatures, and the ground trembled beneath its approach. Its eyes possessed an intelligence far surpassing human consciousness, seeming to peer directly into the soul's innermost desires and darkest intentions. These eyes glowed with supernatural light that pierced through darkness, rendering concealment impossible for those harboring greed or dishonest motives. According to shamanic teachings, the Guardian could discern between those who took from necessity and those consumed by avarice. The creature's voice, when it chose to speak, resonated like thunder echoing through canyon walls, its words incomprehensible, yet their meaning clear. Some described hearing their own ancestors' voices mingled within its speech, warning them away from forbidden territories and treasures. Others reported hearing only a deafening silence that somehow communicated absolute prohibition more effectively than any words. El Guardián's physical manifestation varied in intensity based on the severity of the transgression committed or contemplated by nearby humans. Minor infractions might summon only its shadow cast impossibly across mountainsides, a warning to retreat before facing greater consequences. More serious violations brought forth the creature's full terrible form, emerging from solid rock as though stone itself possessed consciousness. Ancient murals depicted the Guardian surrounded by failed treasure seekers, transformed into stone pillars, marking the boundaries of forbidden zones. These petrified warnings served as eternal monuments to human foolishness, their faces frozen in expressions of terror that deterred generations. Shamans claimed these statues retained partial consciousness, trapped forever in awareness of their mistake, but unable to communicate warnings. The creature's territory extended throughout the deepest mines and richest mineral deposits, places where the earth's treasures concentrated in quantities tempting enough to corrupt even righteous hearts. It emerged only when these boundaries were violated by those driven by greed rather than need or respect. Its curse, once activated, proved inescapable regardless of distance or the passage of time afterward. Third, the village's forbidden encounter. In an age when the village thrived under wise leadership, a period of prosperity brought complacency that gradually eroded traditional caution. Young men questioned the old stories, suggesting that legends existed merely to frighten people and maintain shamanic authority over resources. They mocked elders who insisted on maintaining offerings and performing rituals before extraction, viewing such practices as primitive superstition. Among these skeptics emerged Antu, a charismatic young miner whose exceptional strength and fearless nature earned him considerable influence among peers. His hands bore calluses from years working shallow mines, and his knowledge of geology surpassed even experienced prospectors decades older. Antu possessed genuine talent for locating ore deposits, yet his success bred dangerous arrogance that made him dismiss spiritual warnings. He organized a secret expedition to explore forbidden depths, recruiting a dozen young men eager to prove themselves and discover legendary riches. They prepared in secrecy, gathering tools and provisions while avoiding shamanic notice, planning their departure during a sacred festival when attention focused elsewhere. Their conspiracy represented not merely physical transgression, but spiritual rebellion against centuries of accumulated wisdom and cultural tradition. An elder named Kalku sensed disturbance in the spiritual balance and confronted Antu before the expedition departed on their doomed journey. The shaman's weathered face showed genuine concern rather than anger, his eyes reflecting sorrow at witnessing another generation tempting catastrophe. He described in vivid detail the fates of previous transgressors whose bones now littered forbidden chambers deep within mountain darkness. Antu dismissed these warnings with contempt, declaring that prosperity required courage to challenge outdated beliefs, restricting community advancement and wealth. His passionate speech swayed many villagers who, tired of constant caution and ritualistic limitations on their activities and ambitions. Even some elders privately wondered whether the younger generation might be correct about legends being exaggerated across centuries. The expedition departed before dawn, their torches casting dancing shadows as they descended into tunnels extending far beyond approved extraction zones. Initial progress proved easy, with passages remarkably clear, as though something had deliberately maintained access to deeper levels below. Their confidence grew with each step downward, Antu declaring that their success would revolutionize the village's future. Deep within the mountain's heart, they discovered a chamber of breathtaking beauty, its walls glittering with gold and precious stones. The sight exceeded even their most optimistic fantasies, promising wealth beyond measurement or imagination for their small community. Yet something felt wrong. The silence proved too complete, the air too still, as though the chamber held its breath. Fourth, greed's devastating consequences. The moment Antu's hand touched the golden wall, the mountain trembled with an earthquake that nearly collapsed the tunnels around them. Torches flickered and died, plunging the group into absolute darkness, broken only by an eerie phosphorescent glow emanating from stone itself. The temperature plummeted despite being deep underground, their breath forming clouds as supernatural cold invaded the sacred chamber. A sound like grinding continental plates filled the darkness, followed by the appearance of two massive eyes burning with golden fire. El Guardián materialized from the chamber walls, its form towering over the terrified miners who suddenly understood their catastrophic mistake. The creature's presence pressed down upon them with crushing force, making movement nearly impossible as primal fear paralyzed rational thought. Antu attempted to speak, to apologize or plead, but words died in his throat as the Guardian's gaze fixed upon him. The creature extended what might have been a hand or talon, pointing at each member of the expedition in turn. Its terrible voice spoke in a language predating human civilization, yet its meaning penetrated directly into their minds. The curse descended swiftly and mercilessly upon those who dared violate the sacred prohibition against greed-driven extraction of Earth's treasures. Antu felt his limbs growing heavy and cold, looking down in horror as his flesh transformed into stone beginning at extremities. His companions suffered similar fates, their screams echoing through tunnels as they became living statues, aware but immobile. Some members attempted to flee, scrambling desperately through narrow passages toward distant surface light and salvation they would never reach. The curse pursued them regardless of distance, transforming their bodies even as they ran through increasingly desperate and futile efforts. Within minutes, the entire expedition had become permanent additions to the chamber's grim decoration and eternal warning. El Guardián's work complete, the creature dissolved back into stone from which it emerged, leaving no trace except new statues. The chamber sealed itself through supernatural means, blocking the passages and burying evidence deep where only future fools might discover. Above ground, the village initially waited for the expedition's return, then gradually understood that another group had fallen victim. Kalku led a small group to investigate, finding only sealed tunnels and faint traces of the expedition's passage toward forbidden depths. The shaman performed rituals honoring the lost men while warning the community that this tragedy must serve as renewed commitment. No effort was made to recover bodies or breach the sealed chambers, as attempting such rescue would only multiply casualties. Fifth, the eternal warning that remains. The village entered a period of mourning and reflection, with families of the lost men struggling to balance grief with acknowledgement of transgression. Community leaders reinstated strict protocols regarding mining activities, ensuring that younger generations understood the terrible consequences of violating sacred boundaries. The tragedy became central to cultural education, teaching each new generation about respecting forces beyond human control or comprehension. Kalku commissioned artisans to create a great mural depicting the legend and recent tragedy, ensuring visual preservation of this lesson. The artwork showed El Guardián in all its terrible glory, surrounded by petrified transgressors whose faces bore eternal expressions. This mural adorned the village's central temple, requiring every person to pass it daily and remember the price of greed. Shamanic teachings emphasized that El Guardián remained vigilant, sleeping but never truly dormant, always ready to defend Earth's treasures from corruption. The creature represented nature's ultimate defense mechanism, ensuring that certain boundaries would never be crossed regardless of technological advancement. Its existence served as a reminder that some knowledge and resources must remain forever beyond human reach or exploitation. Strange phenomena occurred near the forbidden zones, with travelers reporting glimpses of golden eyes watching from mountain caves at twilight. Occasionally, distant rumbling echoed through valleys when storms approached, interpreted as the Guardian shifting in its eternal sleep. These signs reinforced communal belief and maintained healthy fear that prevented future expeditions into forbidden territories below. The village prospered through respectful extraction from approved areas, their moderate wealth sufficient for comfortable existence without excess or poverty. Artisans continued creating beautiful works from carefully obtained metals, their craftsmanship renowned throughout the region for quality and artistry. This sustainable approach allowed generations to thrive without awakening the Guardian or suffering its devastating curse upon their community. Other villages occasionally sent ambitious miners seeking information about the legendary deep treasures, hoping to exploit what others feared accessing. The community refused all such inquiries, maintaining silence about specific locations while sharing cautionary tales about inevitable consequences. Several ignored these warnings and ventured into the mountains independently, never returning to report their discoveries or failures. The legend of El Guardián spread across the Andes, becoming part of broader indigenous mythology about respecting natural boundaries and limits. Each culture adapted the story to their specific circumstances, but the core message remained consistent across all variations. The Guardian became a universal symbol representing nature's power to defend itself against human greed, a concept remaining relevant today. The legend of El Guardián reminds us that some treasures exist not for taking, but for preserving the balance between human ambition and natural sanctity. This ancient Chilean tale, passed through countless generations, speaks to timeless truths about respecting boundaries and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed. The Andes still stand as silent witnesses to this eternal guardian, whose curse continues protecting sacred depths from those who would desecrate them. Here at Tales Labyrinth, we journey through history's most profound legends to uncover wisdom our ancestors preserved through storytelling. If this tale captivated your imagination, please honor it by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to our channel for more extraordinary legends from around the world. What other ancient mysteries would you like us to explore? Let us know, and together we'll continue navigating the labyrinth of human mythology and cultural heritage. Until our next journey, stay curious, stay respectful, and remember that some doors are closed for good reason.